Picture the last conversation that left you staring at a wall afterward, replaying every word. You walked in certain of what happened. You walked out certain of nothing. Somewhere between the first sentence and the last, the ground shifted under you, and you never felt it move. You weren't wrong. You know you weren't wrong. And yet somehow, you're the one who ended up saying sorry. This moment isn't rare. It happens in bedrooms and boardrooms, in family kitchens and text message threads, to people who are smart, capable, and paying close attention. It happens anyway. So here's the question worth sitting with. How does another human being take your own memory and make it feel like evidence against you? The easy answer is that they're clever. The real answer is colder than that. They don't do it because you're weak. They do it because they can't survive you being certain. The instant you stop doubting yourself, something in them starts to come apart. That collapse, what causes it, what it costs the people standing near it, and how it finally ends, is what we're going to take apart, piece by piece, starting now. Say the word narcissist, and most people picture the same character. Loud. Vain. A voice that fills every room it enters, a stream of stories where they're always the hero. Sometimes that's accurate. But the ones who do the most damage rarely look like that at all. They're the coworker everyone describes as so easy to talk to. The partner your friends call charming. The parent who shows up smiling in every family photograph. Quiet people. Successful people. People who remember your coffee order and still manage, somehow, to make you feel small. That's the part that makes them almost impossible to spot in time. The damage doesn't announce itself. It arrives wearing something you trust. Because what drives this behavior was never really about ego. Ego is just the costume. Underneath it is something closer to a survival strategy, a constant, exhausting campaign to stay in control of how they're seen, no matter what it costs the people around them. And control requires a very specific kind of fuel. Not love. Love has terms and conditions attached. It can be withdrawn. Not respect. Respect can be lost the moment they slip. What they need is something far more reliable, your confusion. A person who's certain asks hard questions. A person who's confused apologizes instead. So without ever announcing it, without a plan pinned to a wall, they start engineering exactly that, turning your certainty into static, one small moment at a time. That's not the ending of this story. That's the opening move. And it starts long before you'd ever think to look for it. Here's what most people get wrong about when this actually starts. They assume it begins the night of the first real fight, the first slammed door, the first lie caught red-handed. It doesn't. It begins earlier than that. It begins in the small talk. Every "tell me about yourself" is quietly doing double duty. While you're relaxing into a new friendship, a new relationship, a new work dynamic, sharing what scares you, what makes you feel guilty, what kind of apology you accept too easily, someone across the table is taking notes they'll never admit to taking. They're not memorizing you because they're falling for you. They're memorizing you because you're a system, and every system has an override code. They clock what wounds you. They clock what makes you shrink. They clock exactly how much you'll forgive before you finally walk. And above everything else, they clock how fast you extend trust, because that's the door they're going to walk through. Think about how trust actually works for most people. You meet someone, and until they give you a real reason not to, you assume they're telling the truth. That instinct is what makes healthy relationships possible at all. To someone building a system of control, that same instinct isn't a virtue. It's an opening. So the testing begins, small, deniable, easy to explain away. A canceled plan. Hours that go unaccounted for. A story that doesn't quite line up with the one from last week. And when you finally ask about it, reasonably, calmly, the way anyone would, watch what happens next. They don't explain. They flip it. Somehow, within 30 seconds, you're the one defending your tone, your timing, your right to have even asked. You walk away apologizing for a question you had every right to ask. That's not a misunderstanding. That's a rehearsal. And the unsettling part is how well it works, because kind people default to assuming good faith, and that default is exactly what gets used against them, again and again, until it starts to feel normal. It won't stay this quiet for long. There's a theory almost everyone believes without questioning it, that people who manipulate this way must feel powerful, superior, in command. Flip that assumption over, and you find something closer to the truth. Underneath the performance is often a person running from a feeling most of us would recognize instantly: the fear of being ordinary, of being wrong, of being, God forbid, just like everyone else. Now imagine that fear is the foundation your entire identity sits on. Every day is spent reinforcing a single load-bearing belief: I am not allowed to be flawed. For most people, hearing, "you made a mistake," stings for an afternoon and fades. For someone holding that identity together with both hands, the same sentence doesn't feel like feedback. It feels like a demolition crew showing up at the front door. So instead of surveying the damage honestly, they do something faster, and far more damaging to you. They move the entire argument onto different ground. You're remembering it wrong. That never happened. You're too sensitive. You always do this. Listen closely to what just happened in that exchange. The subject quietly changed. It's no longer a conversation about their behavior. It's a referendum on whether your own memory can be trusted at all. And the second that shift succeeds, the fight is already over, because now you're spending your energy proving reality happened, instead of holding anyone accountable for what they did inside it. That's the entire strategy in one move. And it works because most people never even notice the ground has shifted beneath them. But making you doubt yourself was never the actual goal. It's just the tool. So what, exactly, is being protected so fiercely that a person would burn down a relationship rather than risk it? The answer isn't power. It runs deeper than that, and it's the one thing they will never say out loud. From the outside, confidence like theirs can look bulletproof, untouchable. The kind of certainty that never seems to crack, no matter what's thrown at it. That surface is doing a lot of work to hide what's underneath. Because behind almost every controlling, image-obsessed performance sits the same quiet terror, being seen exactly as they are. Not the fear of losing money. Not the fear of being alone, even. The fear that outranks all the others is exposure, the moment the illusion of being smarter, stronger, and simply more than everyone else finally gives out. That illusion isn't decoration. It's structural. Pull it out, and the whole identity built on top of it starts to fold in on itself. Which is why something as small as a gentle correction can trigger a reaction wildly out of proportion to what was actually said. You mentioned something they said yesterday that contradicts what they're saying today. You ask, calmly, for a straight answer. To you, it's Tuesday. It's a normal conversation between two people who trust each other enough to be honest. To them, it registers as an ambush. Because admitting one mistake means admitting the whole performance has a crack in it. And that mask took years to build. Protecting it, not the relationship, not you, the mask, becomes the priority every single time. You can watch it happen in real time if you know what you're looking for. The flicker before the deflection, the half second where something almost breaks through, right before the walls go back up twice as high as before. That flicker is the truest thing you'll ever see them show you. And it disappears the instant they notice you've seen it. Here's something that, once you notice it, you'll never stop noticing. Every real conversation with someone like this seems to end somewhere completely different from where it started. It opens as a simple, specific issue, something that happened, something that needs addressing. 10 minutes in, you're not discussing the issue anymore. You're defending your character. 30 minutes in, you're apologizing for things that have nothing to do with why the conversation started in the first place. And the original problem, the actual thing that happened, has quietly vanished from the room, like it was never there at all. This isn't an accident of a heated argument. It's sleight of hand, and it's practiced. A magician doesn't make an object disappear through magic. He makes you look somewhere else at the exact right moment, and your own attention does the rest. This works the same way, except the target isn't your eyes. It's your emotions. The instant the conversation gets close to accountability, too close, something new gets thrown onto the table. Something you did last spring. A tone you used 3 weeks ago. A memory that's suddenly, urgently relevant, right when it's most inconvenient for it to be. Anything except an answer to the original question. Because a conversation that stays focused is a conversation they lose. So the spotlight moves. Not because they're right, because being chased is so much easier to survive than being caught. And there's a tool that makes this redirection almost unstoppable. One that doesn't just distract you from what happened. It convinces you that what happened differently than you remember, or didn't happen at all. Of every tactic we're going to walk through, this is the one psychologists consistently rank among the most damaging. Not because it's loud. Because it's invisible. It doesn't attack your body. It attacks the thing your body relies on to make sense of everything else, your own perception. And it never opens with a slammed door. It opens quietly. You're remembering that wrong. I never said that. You're imagining things again. You always twist what I mean. Any single one of those sentences, said once, barely registers. Said 50 times, said 500 times, across months and then years, something starts to erode that you won't notice going until it's mostly gone. Your certainty. You start rereading old messages, hunting for proof of what you already know is true. You replay conversations on a loop while lying awake at 2 a.m. You call a friend, not to vent, but to ask, quietly, almost embarrassed, was I overreacting? You become your own detective, building a case against yourself, night after night. And here's the cruelty hiding inside the design of it. While you're doing all that investigating, the one person who actually deserves scrutiny is sitting untouched, outside the entire process. The victim becomes the suspect. That's the whole mechanism, and it's brutally efficient. But even after someone finally walks away from all of it, there's one more trap waiting, a quieter one, and it can hold a person in place for years without them ever realizing they're still standing in it. But the story doesn't end with the trap. The most dangerous moves are yet to come, including the silent weapon they use when they lose control. We will break down Chapter 6 and the ultimate escape in Part 2. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss it. Protect your peace, and we'll see you in the next video.